Now, Whis and the like may seem to be quite sweetness and light, without a care in the world, but is that really the case, or there is something else going on? Hey folks, MasterCoX here. The attendants of the GODs. They are very iconic now within the world of Dragon Ball. Hard to actually imagine that only 7 years ago that we had absolutely no clue about them. That the Supreme Kai was the big cheese. Well, he's not even a little cheese, he's not even a baby bell. And we were even unsure about whether we would like them or not, the Angels. Well, things have much changed about that, and now the likes of Whis and Bardoss are intrinsic to what makes up the modern day interpretation of the series. Yeah, it's nice to see that something from Dragon Ball post 2013 has been universally received well, am I right? Now, part of what makes them them are their similar relaxed nature, with Whis being the most noteworthy example of this. Stronger than anything in the universes that they tend to, there is that natural calm that they possess which allows for their actual personalities to shine through no matter what kind of scenario you're in. Not only does that give us the chance to witness their character in its full glory, but it is also cool due to the note of mystique about them. We don't know to this day the full extent of their repertoire. They can do anything pretty much, and the writers are deliberately keeping it that way, keeping their cards, or notes more accurately, close to their chests. Why? Well, that's easy. They can stick any MacGuffin on the Angels and we would be mostly okay with it, because it sort of makes sense. It's mysterious. Up until now, this has been the norm for Angels. They've had it good without any real concerns, any worries about consequences. I mean, even in the Tournament of Power, where erasure was common, their lives and existence were secured thanks to their father, most likely, the GP. Not even that little chicanery got them down. But now though, we have a feeling that that could change. Granted, the Angels in Dragon Ball have immeasurable might, but recent events in the manga have made us begin to reconsider this, their true nature, and then ask the question: does all that phenomenal cosmic power come with an itty bitty living space? Are they as free and content as we are led to believe? Are they actually doomed to a life of fear and doubt beyond their control, beyond even the Omni King's control? Well, let's find out. If you've not read chapter 63 of the Dragon Ball Super manga yet, or even seen any of the leaks, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out, or you were really lucky avoiding leaks from any other videos, you can actually just wait for a moment and check out Viz Media's online portal for Shonen Jump manga, including Super, #NotSpawn. Or, if you need to catch up quick, here's my review of it. I mean, you're probably going to just watch this video anyway, but hey, I thought I'd at least offer. Up until now, we had never seen an Angel getting hurt, nor being in the position to get hurt in the first place. And yes, I know, Whis went toe-to-toe with Broly in the latest movie, but that was very different. He wasn't outwardly attacking the Saiyan, nor was he on the back foot. He was just leaping around out of the way like he does with Goku and Vegeta. Now though, we have a little more evidence to work with in the latest manga chapter about what makes them tick. So before the statement of Myros's true angelic nature was revealed to us in some shape or form, it was hard for us to imagine an Angel getting hurt, let alone ceasing to exist, but it happened. Despite all the warnings given to us in exposition, we never actually thought that the time would really come that words in Dragon Ball would actually yield results. And also, the way that it happened to Myros kind of opened our eyes in certain ways. Ways that we never really considered before with Angels. Let's briefly remind ourselves in regards to what exactly Angels do. Seems easy enough, but it does have some nuance to it. First off, other than the GP, or like what we like to call him sometimes, Big Papa Smurf, because he's blue, we have two types of angelic beings: Guide Angels and Trainee Angels. There's the Guide Angels at first, and these beings that really seem to carry themselves off the best as wise and sedate in their approach to matters. We're talking about the ones that are really professional at this, the likes of Whis, Bardoss, Kusu, who act as teachers of the destroyers to enable them to master their craft of, well, destroying things, and also acting as their personal attendants, keeping them in check. And as you might imagine, some Angels are better at this, getting the best out of their masters than others. In theory, they do not act, except if their GOD will give them a command to do so. It's okay if the Destroyer tells them to do something because they are merely carrying out someone else's bidding, and thusly, they are not personally responsible for what happens after that. Doesn't that already seem a little bit curtailed in a way? They have all this power at their disposal, but It's not really at their disposal. They can't really use it for themselves. And yes, of course, Beerus isn't all that attentive with Whis, and so in theory, it lets the latter get away with a lot. And also, to be fair, Papa Smurf does love his boy Whis in Universe 7, so I imagine there's a lot of looking the other way. It's also convenient for the story if you think about it, because if we had 2 stricter rules for Universe 7, we wouldn't have a story. The trainee angels are similar in makeup, but due to them not having a god of destruction to serve, they have even less freedom and even less perks than their superiors. They are only allowed to just observe the universe and interact with it only on the condition that they don't use their true power. They can mingle amongst the locals, the peoples of the mortal realm, that they might one day attend to indirectly if they get the chance to, but they cannot use their angelic powers whatsoever. They have to keep them strictly to themselves. I mean, yes, in theory, we've seen with Mirrors they can defend themselves if need be, but in terms of outward offense, nope. Which, upon further consideration, is a very clever way of limiting their phenomenal power. I mean, hey, if you ever get a very mean and introverted God as a master, you will not really be doing much at all. You may just be only standing there. It's all down to who their boss is in terms of their ability to use their own powers. You see, when we first heard about the danger of the possibility of the likes of Mirrors being erased, we thought that, oh, this was something that would be like a direct punishment, something sent down by someone that we're familiar with. It could be someone like the likes of the Omni King, or even their own father figure. The GP has to somehow, and sadly, hand out the punishment personally to one of his folk. Poetically, this is actually really compelling. But that theory, as Trunks once said, is now out the window. With the actions of Mirrors recently, basically throwing caution to the wind and just using all of his powers in one go within the mortal realm without instruction, we learned that it's the universe itself that doles out the punishment. It's sort of like an additional clause, an unknown law of astrophysics in the dragon world that quickly removes any angel who tries to bend the laws of it or flout it in any way. Like it's something baked into the fabric of reality itself. It seems sort of more like gravity than a written law. Now, why would such a limitation exist in the first place? Well, I think we can answer this quite easily. It's to make sure that no angel can, or in theory would, go rogue. We saw a well-natured Mirrors ending up on the receiving end of this system. Yeah, he did flout the rules, but it was for merely a benevolent means, but it also means another thing. Something that will actually sort of disappoint any fanfic writers out there if they are trying to do something in terms of accuracy to the show or alignment with it. It means that any sort of fallen angel concept or something akin to the model of that character could simply not exist in this world. The universe will not allow it. If one decided to go rogue against mortals or any other divine being, the law would simply just turn them into dust. Oh, I bet I hear you screaming out that Zamasu was able to do so, use his powers for nefarious purposes and wipe out mortal beings, and you are correct there, but he's not an angel. His powers were an anomaly. He was freakishly powerful for a Supreme Kai candidate, as well as freakishly resourceful in using the Super Dragon Balls and then destroying them. Very, very smart and dangerous, and I think that the universe did not anticipate that happening. But let's get back to the angels, because they are known to always be powerful. That means that whoever designed the system into the universe's makeup had such an occurrence happening, popping up in their mind. But who did this? Was it Zeno, perhaps? Well, it doesn't seem like that would be his style. It feels too nuanced for him, black and white. Besides, a lot of stuff that Mirrors does in terms of fighting techniques and prowess and powers look actually rather cool, which we know that the Omni King digs. So appealing as to break the rules that he had supposedly created for tournaments, which makes it really unlikely that he would want to try and limit the angels in any way, because otherwise he doesn't get to see cool stuff. And on top of all that, Zeno seems pretty ignorant about certain things that govern his own reality, at least in his later iterations post the Goku Black arc, and he also isn't really appearing to be showing off his omniscient nature in any way, despite holding the title of Omni King, as we saw with both Zenos being unable completely to see how fast the fighters were actually moving. Maybe it was Papa Smurf, perhaps? Well, it's hard to say. For all we know, he might have his own set of rules that govern what he can do, limiting him from doing certain things. Perhaps it binds him to Zeno in certain ways. Perhaps he cannot venture too far from the Omni King for long periods of time, or else it diminishes his power. Erasure though, probably not. He's high up enough to ensure that his existence wouldn't be messed around with. Also, he might have more freedom than the other angels, but I don't think he would want to see his children erased, really. He certainly wouldn't want to be the one to do it. Even though angels are not the most emotional of beings, I'm pretty sure there is a sense of camaraderie between them. You guys will now probably scream, "Oh, it's a Torybot!" Even I briefly thought about that in jest. It seems like a very Toriyama thing to do via Toyotaro, but we find that also unlikely. You see, Toriyobot is very much a gag character, like Arale is. And do you remember episode 69 of Super? It was like Marmite or Vegemite to my Australian chums. You either loved it or hated it, and it all focused around whether you understood what Arale and Dr. Slump references were. The gag of the episode. If you didn't get it, you didn't understand it, and therefore you just would dismiss that episode, and vice versa. If people don't know about Torybot, they would be up in arms and most likely accuse Toyotaro of self-inserting OCs into official works, despite Torybot being a Toriyama thing. You know how the internet works though, they'll just blame Toyotaro. As such, I don't think he's considered to be a proper divine being outside of meta jokes and more, well, gag-like moments, so no. For now, we are out of candidates. There isn't any particular character right now, or any being that we feel would fit the bill of being the one to actually put this condition into the universe's makeup. Now, my last guess in a way was Zalama, the god of creation who is mysteriously absent from everything. Maybe he baked it in there to ensure that those who were meant to preserve his creation, the angels, didn't mess it up, but there's no real evidence for this at present. It's just a nice idea. Maybe it's the lore of the multiverse itself, but there seems to be a little hint about the real direction of the whole thing. We got something. You see, the important thing about angel laws are the fact that all the god of destructions have been mortals at some point in time, which points at a few things. First, there had to be a point in the history of the multiverse when there were no GODs whatsoever. Only Kais and maybe some angels and of course an Omni King. As we know, the king of everything is capable of erasing entire universes just on a whim, apparently. So maybe GODs were put in place as to limiting the Omni King's scope. Maybe after an overabundance of life had started to become a problem, like there was too many people. They needed something to keep the universe in balance, and Zeno had maybe been, too successful? But why bind angels to the mortals? Well, to mirror the relationship perhaps between the GP and Zeno. That's the most likely situation. Also, this all seems to connect pretty nicely to the GP's fondness towards mortals, as he expresses genuine interest in them, despite not interfering directly. But then, we get to the ultimate question. Why do certain gods of destruction, despite not doing their job at all to their fullest, actually keep their jobs? For sure, we as a collective fandom like Beerus, but we know that in reality he kinda slacks at his job, and we certainly know that Mojito is not very fond of Sidra. What gives about that? Well, remember how we mentioned that angels can act when asked to do so by their GODs? Well, this is a little loophole that allows them to, well, do things at all. And the lazier that the GOD is, the more liberties that the angel is allowed to have. Remember how we touched upon that earlier in the video? I mean, look at Beerus. He sleeps a lot, allowing Whis to take care of things on his behalf, which effectively gives him more freedom. Whis, in a way, can be like, well, while I'm here, I can do this. I mean, what's the harm? Beerus isn't going to notice. The universe didn't count on lazy GODs existing, or perhaps an even more drastic contrast, look at the GP himself. Zeno hardly seems to do anything, which leaves the Big Papa himself to run the show, largely as he pleases. And towards whom was he the most passive-aggressive towards in Dragon Ball Super? The 4 most capable GODs, at least according to mortal levels. Why did he act this way? Well, quite possibly, their effectiveness leaves the least amount of freedom for his children. Put simply, those 4 are too good. That would also suggest that the most efficient GOD angel partnerships are those where the GOD has some kind of competence at their jobs, but for the most part allows the angel to do their thing, which is exactly what Beerus does. So, is he secretly the perfect GOD from the GP's perspective? He does seem to like Universe 7, and he says so in the anime to his own son, and has a special bond with Whis, so who knows? What I'm getting at is that the angels are most likely trying to game the angelic laws. And understandably so too. It is quite ruthless, but not sacred to them. Look how eager was Whis to allow Mirrors to break it, or more specifically, how much he didn't care about the rules. And to add further fuel to the fire, just look at the halos of the angels. While the GP has it located behind its head, the ones that his children have are located around their necks. If you tighten them up a little bit, they would look like collars, which gives us a pretty clear signal. Was this just a coincidence and just merely a design choice that looked kinda cool? Or is this a visual cue for their original purpose? Does this make their course of action nefarious? Well, not at all. These guys just probably want to be free from a law that punishes them for taking matters into their own hands. Can that lead to something sinister? Well, possibly. Because if that law wasn't always a thing, you bet it was put in place after someone had gone rogue in the first place. Why would you put a failsafe in place like that if you had no clue or previous? I doubt Zalem or whoever it was that proactive, and if our predictions are correct, we might learn about that in the future. For now though, we should watch the Angels closely, as finding the loopholes and abusing the rules seems to be a tradition that runs deep in that family. But what do you folks think? Do you think we'll find out more about the Angels now that Miras has blown open the door? Will the GP lead his children to freedom in time? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!